Four friends go on a hike and accidentally awaken something terrifying in the woods. Ariana Parker is a young woman who gained popularity on social media through her blog. Always traveling with her camera in hand, she documents everything that happens in her daily life as well as special moments. When the weekend arrives, the four friends head to the beach, where they enjoy their time together. Chris isn't great with the camera, but at Ari's request, he sets it up nearby to capture everything happening around them. John and Carrie are a couple, just like Ari and Chris. Wanting to make their trip unforgettable, John plans a romantic surprise for Carrie. Seizing the moment while she talks to a friend, John gets down on one knee and presents an engagement ring, asking Carrie to marry him. As expected, she says yes, making it the happiest day of her life. Ari is genuinely thrilled for her friend, completely unaware that Chris is also getting down on one knee to propose to her. Seeing Chris's gesture, Ari joyfully agrees and hugs him, then announces to her followers that they will be having a double wedding. Upon returning home, Ari continues filming everything, which starts to irritate John. He doesn't understand why she feels the need to record their ordinary everyday life, believing that not everything should be shared on social media, as it can stir unwanted anger and jealousy in others. Ari explains that most of the videos are for cherished memories, so they can look back on them in the future and relive those joyful moments. Reluctantly agreeing, John decides to try his hand at filming and takes the camera to the next room where Carrie is. Carrie tells her mother about John's proposal, but she doesn't get the understanding she hoped for. Her mother reacts negatively, claiming that Carrie won't be happy and that the marriage will eventually fall apart. John supports Carrie during this tough time, assuring her that she will make a wonderful wife. He is confident that Carrie will never be like her mother, who is cold and unsupportive, unable to celebrate joyful moments or provide comfort during hard times. Returning to his friends, John films Ari and Chris, urging them to be more reserved, so their future kids won't see the circumstances surrounding their conception. A little while later, the friends hurry to leave Seattle, catching a ferry to an island nearby where Ari's parents live. Barely making it onto the ferry and finding seats, the two couples bid farewell to their beloved city and set off for exciting new adventures. Late in the evening, they arrive at Ari's parents' charming home, who have heard about her engagement to Chris. Alan and Margot have prepared a festive gathering dinner to discuss the details of the upcoming wedding. During dinner, Ari and Carrie recount the memorable details of the day when Chris and John proposed to them. Alan, like his daughter, loves capturing everything on camera and enthusiastically engages in the exciting conversation. Ari tells her parents that the four of them want to go on a small hiking trip and have already picked a scenic trail. Carrie's mother suggests choosing a different route since this one is too daunting for inexperienced hikers. The girls find this sudden concern suspicious and ask her to elaborate. Margot admits that the problem isn't just the difficulty of the trail but also the legends associated with it. Centuries ago, a group of Scandinavian settlers ventured deep into the woods to establish their home. As they delved further, they encountered a malevolent entity known as the Forest Witch. Whether it was a devil or a forest spirit, no one knows, but it wiped out all the settlers, sucking their souls from their bodies. Both Ari and her father are skeptical of Margot's story, but she urges her daughter to believe her and not go there, suggesting they pitch their tent somewhere else. Trying to calm her mother, Ari lies and promises to find another, safer route for the weekend. Shifting away from the unsettling topic, Margot asks her daughter and her best friend to show off their engagement rings. Later, Alan chats with the future grooms, acknowledging that marriage isn't just about happiness but also a serious trial that requires preparation. In a family, one often has to sacrifice their desires, so it's important to accept this idea before getting married. Chris and John smile and chuckle at the advice but promise to keep it in mind for the future. Seizing the moment, Margot explains some nuances of marriage to the girls and asks them to remember that men always want to feel like the heads of the household, even if they don't actually make all the decisions. After a while, the friends discuss the local mysterious legend with growing interest. Ari remains deeply skeptical of her mother's story and wants to confirm or debunk it. Hearing their conversation, Margot once again urges her daughter to forget about that ominous trip, not wanting her to put herself in danger. Ari reminds her that she's a blogger studying journalism, so exploring something like this would be incredibly fascinating. Seeing her mother's increasing anxiety, Ari promises not to venture into that part of the woods, though she secretly plans to do so regardless. A little later, Chris and Ari go down to the basement to find tents and sleeping bags for their camping trip. Left alone, the couple discusses Margot's words and whether they should believe her. Chris is troubled by the story, noting that such legends don't just arise out of nowhere, and something terrible may have happened there. Ari dismisses his concerns, believing it's just childish horror stories that have no basis in reality. Moreover, as a journalist and blogger, she's even more eager to uncover the truth, making her more determined to hike the dangerous trail. In a romantic mood, Chris suggests they have a little fun, but just then, Ari's father appears, reacting sharply to Chris's words. The next morning, the group of friends heads to a museum, where they meet an elderly man named Mr. Kensington. Ari is eager to learn more about the legend and its reality, so she asks the man to share everything he knows. Mr. Kensington confirms that such a legend exists, but technically, the creature should be called not the Forest Witch, but Hel, the Scandinavian goddess of the underworld. He possesses an ancient book that has been passed down through generations, detailing everything about hell, from how to summon her to how to end her life. Despite her skepticism, Ari asks her friend to distract Mr. Kensington so she can examine the book. It has a special lock to keep outsiders from opening and reading it, but Ari manages to take photos of several pages. Realizing that the group is planning a trip to dangerous places, Mr. Kensington tries to dissuade them, but the friends hurriedly leave. The old man notices they have taken his book and aggressively chases after the young people, but they escape in their car. On their way to the woods, Carrie studies the photos and translates the text written in Old Norse. The book reveals everything about hell, explaining who she is and how dangerous she can be. Hel has repeatedly declared war on Odin, the father of Thor and Loki, but has always lost and ended up imprisoned. After one failed attempt, she was banished from her realm and became the goddess of the underworld, transforming into a terrifying tree. Hel can remain dormant for hundreds or even thousands of years, but she can be awakened with a special incantation. The book warns that this could have dire consequences, but the curious Ari isn't scared at all. She firmly believes these are just legends and myths with no connection to reality, but she wants to confirm this through experimentation. Before long, the four friends arrive at the edge of the forest and park their car nearby. Taking their tents, sleeping bags, and other necessary gear, they set off on their hike. Excited about the adventure, the two couples enter the woods and quickly make their way along one of the dangerous trails. Thinking this trail will lead them to hell, Ari decides to record a video next to a massive, eerie tree, declaring the start of their witch hunt. Remembering that not only her followers but also her parents might see this video, Ari lies on camera, claiming that it's safe and they aren't on the trail her mother warned her about. As they continue deeper into the forest, the friends actively discuss this and other intriguing legends, trying to discern what is real and what is fiction. The guys, like children, believe most of the stories and don't rule out the possibility of encountering mythical Bigfoot. Ari and Carrie react with playful mockery, asserting that all supernatural things are merely fabrications of horror movie screenwriters. Soon, the group finds a cozy clearing and decides to spend the night. Setting up a little friendly competition, they race to pitch their tents, boasting about their sizes and available amenities. In the evening, Chris, John, Carrie, and Ari gather around the campfire to discuss their future plans and share their aspirations. Chris dreams of being a musician but will work in an office instead, as that's what his fiancée wants. She needs real income, not potential fame. A few hours later, John and Carrie head to their tent, contemplating the topic of children. Chris and Ari also find some privacy, but Chris tries to film an adult video, which irritates Ari. She films nearly everything but insists that this isn't the best idea, forbidding Chris from continuing. The next morning, the four friends continue their journey in search of the legendary trail in hell. With each step, the girls grow more confident that they are on the right path and are about to either encounter the forest witch or debunk her existence. On the way, Carrie expresses her worries about becoming like her cold and domineering mother. Ari reassures her that it's impossible, as Carrie is too kind and good-hearted. Undeterred, the girls move ahead a bit and soon come across something unusual. They discover an area in the forest where dozens of trees stand bare, without leaves or branches. It looks eerie and a little frightening, as there's no sign of a fire or wind that could have caused such devastation. John and Chris suggest turning back, but the girls take this as a sign that they are on the right track. A few minutes later, the group arrives at a fork in the path with 3 trails, but the girls easily determine which way to go. One of the paths seems more ominous, and their suspicions are soon confirmed. The air grows chillingly cold and unpleasant, and the landscape becomes increasingly sinister. After walking no more than 100 meters, they finally find what they've been searching for. Right before Carrie and Ari stands a massive stone covered in strange symbols and markings, adorned with unusual stone structures. Realizing they are in the very spot they were seeking, Ari asks the others to help find a distinctive tree that stands out from the rest. The guys assist in locating a creepy-looking entity that barely resembles a tree, after which Ari asks Carrie to recite the incantation from the book. Chris and John think it's a bad idea, but the girls are undeterred by the potential consequences, confident that legends have no connection to reality. As soon as Carrie recites the ancient incantation from the book, the tree begins to stir and comes to life. The group of friends realizes that hell, transformed into a tree, is not a figment of their imagination but a terrifying reality they must confront. Understanding the potential horrific consequences and seeing that hell is clearly not in a good mood, they flee in panic. Encountering a woman out for a peaceful jog, the two couples split up and run in different directions through the shadowy woods. In that instant, the innocent woman becomes an unfortunate victim of the goddess of the underworld, who drains her soul swiftly. Meanwhile, Mr. Kensington senses something has occurred in the forest as the green stone in his book begins to glow brightly. Without looking back, Carrie and John try to escape as far as possible from the monster. Hearing that the forest witch has awakened and is now restless, they take a moment to catch their breath before continuing their escape, desperately searching for a way out of the woods. Meanwhile, Ari and Chris find themselves in a difficult situation as hell is very close, forcing them to hide behind a tree. Not finding the people who awakened her, the goddess of the underworld simply vanishes, but it soon becomes clear that she can teleport, making it nearly futile to try to run away from her. Despite all the challenges, Ari and Chris use the terrain to their advantage as they evade her. They carefully retreat from the site of the encounter and hide in the bushes. Ari is shocked by what's happening but can't miss this extraordinary moment. Being a blogger and journalist, acting with utmost caution, she frequently raises her camera to document the events and provide evidence of the forest witch's existence. Hearing that hell is getting closer, Ari and Chris continue to run, unaware of what's happening to their friends. Ari refuses to abandon her friend in danger and suggests they find her. Chris, however, is only thinking of himself and insists they forget about John and Carrie. Moreover, he blames Carrie for what happened, arguing that she's the one who recited the incantation and brought hell to life. In contrast to Chris, Carrie and John can't betray their friends, hiding and comforting each other in this difficult time. The couple is determined not to leave the forest without Ari and Chris. Navigating through mud, swamps, and dense underbrush, they decide to turn back to find their friends and help them. John and Carrie call out loudly when they suddenly hear their friend responding, indicating she is still alive. Following the sound, the two couples keep moving to avoid being caught by hell. Communicating across the forest, they soon locate each other and reunite, believing it will be easier to face the monster together. It seems the group is eager to escape and report everything to the police, but Ari proposes a not-so-smart idea. As a journalist and blogger, she wants to confront hell face-to-face again and try to negotiate with her. The others think this is incredibly foolish, but the curious girl cannot be stopped, as getting interesting material is more important to her than her own life. Chris tries to convince his fiancée otherwise, but they end up arguing. He's ready to abandon her to escape and survive, but Carrie insists that he shouldn't treat his fiancée that way. Chris decides to follow Ari, and John suggests that Carrie go back home, but she can't leave her best friend in danger either. As a result, the group returns to the depths of the mysterious forest, but soon they deeply regret it. Facing hell, Ari attempts to communicate with the forest witch. She tries to understand her sinister goals and motives, hoping to find common ground for meaningful conversation. The only thing hell is interested in is fresh souls, and she makes this clear by mercilessly devouring Chris. The trio flees and hides in nearby dense bushes. Ari realizes that due to her reckless foolishness, she has lost the person she loves, but it's too late to change anything. Carrie supports her in this difficult moment and urges her to escape and return to the safety of the car. A little later, the three try to leave the forest, but hell is not willing to let them go alive. Suddenly appearing just a few feet away from the naive tourists, the forest witch releases a green beam that stops them in their tracks. Coming to, Carrie can't see hell but understands that Ari has lost her life in the latest attack. She urges John to run, but he gets injured and can't see anything. It seems like the end, but Mr. Kensington arrives on the scene, trying to protect the couple with his book and an amulet featuring the green stone. The old man and Hal are old acquaintances. His family has protected the forest from the goddess of the underworld for generations. Mr. Kensington is willing to sacrifice himself, but he lacks the strength to confront hell. Struggling to stay on his feet, he asks Carrie to recite the incantation that can take hell's life. Unable to remember the phrase in Scandinavian, she says it in English, and surprisingly, it works. Just before turning to stone, hell fires a beam at John, resulting in his death. Some time later, Carrie recounts these events to reporters. Soon after, she and Mr. Kensington return to the forest, but they cannot find the missing hell. The girl receives the book and becomes the guardian of the forest. Over time, she acquires enough knowledge and skills to destroy the forest witch once and for all. Returning to the woods, she calls upon a troll and asks for help in tracking down hell to confront her. What do you think? Can belief in myths and legends influence our perception of reality? Should we take myths seriously if there's a possibility of awakening monsters and gods in real life? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.